Listo, guys. So today is our first class of the basic 2 level. Ready? Nuestra primera clase del básico 2. It's going to be our first class of basic 2, and it's the week number 1, right? So in this case, when this week, we have one specific topic. It says, when you were a child. Ready? When you were a child. So of course, it's very possible that we're going to be talking about our childhood. Do you know what's the meaning of our childhood? What is the meaning of childhood?
Infancia.
Infancia, very good. Yes. O niñez. Good. Listo, guys. Entonces, that's the topic of today's class. Ahora, es nuestra primera clase, es su primera clase virtual, virtual session, y con ello voy a comentarles un par de cosillas, hacerles un par de recomendaciones que tal vez yo les hice dentro de la inducción, pero en caso tal, ¿vale? Guys, dentro de las sesiones virtuales les vamos a estar preguntando, tanto yo como los propios asistentes, muchas cositas, ¿vale? Estamos intentando que ustedes participen. Idealmente a través del micrófono, ¿cierto? Pero si van a participar a través del chat, pues también se puede, pero idealmente a través del micrófono, ¿ok? ¿Por qué? Porque es mucho más dinámico y mucho más rápido, ¿vale? Entonces, cuando les pregunto cositas, pues obviamente así como Luis ha estado contestando, espero que los demás también estén atentos a contestar. ¿Listo? Si tienen preguntas, levanten la manito aquí en Zoom. Ustedes saben que pueden levantar la manito y con gusto se les van a solucionar las dudas que puedan tener, ¿ok? Entonces, nada, estar muy atentos, participativos y cualquier cosita, pues I am going to be asking some specific people like Andrés, Juan David, Camilo, Nicolás, Laura, Jennifer, Diana. ¿Sí? I'm going to be calling names. So I said, okay, listo, Diana, ¿qué significa tal cosa? All right? So for you to be attentive on the class. Okay? Ready? Bueno, we're going to start then. So, in this case, as I said before, we're going to be talking about our childhood. And our childhood, it's a moment in the past when we were kids, ¿cierto? For example, in this moment, I am 32 years old. But long time ago in my childhood, I was, like 8, 10 years old, right? 6 years old, maybe. So it was a lot of time ago. Oof, a long time ago, right? Bueno, so in that case, guys, we're going to have one question. Yes, one question to answer. Recuerden que esta infografía que está acá se las voy publicando semana a semana dentro de la plataforma. Cuando usted ingresa a su plataforma, ¿cierto? Al nivel básico 2 usted ingresa y lo primero que ve en el básico 2 es eso, es la misma infografía con la que estamos trabajando, ¿ready? Semana a semana yo les voy a ir compartiendo la infografía de la semana y allí van a encontrar preguntas o vocabulario o algo relacionado con el tema de la semana. En este caso, por ejemplo, tenemos algunas preguntas sobre el pasado, ¿ready? Les vamos a trabajar con esas preguntitas, pero quiero que estén muy pendientes siempre de su ventana de anuncios, ¿listo? De su parte principal, de su página principal del nivel. No del curso, sino del nivel. O sea, cuando usted entra a su plataforma, usted encuentra otras noticias aparte. Pero una vez que usted ingresa a su curso básico 2, ¿cierto? Cuando ingresa directamente al básico 2, ahí es donde va a encontrar la infografía necesaria para esa semana, ¿cierto? Ahí dice Week One y el tema y una preguntita o algún otro insumo para esa semana, ya sea el vocabulario o una tablita o algún texto para leer, algo relacionado con el tema de esa semana, ¿listo? Entonces, bueno, we're going to have here the infographic, ready? And we're going to have one question to answer. Mrs. Laura, could you please help me to read this question? Could you please help me to read this question?
What problems did Colombia used to have?
Excellent. What problems did Colombia used to have, right? When I say used to have, it means before, long time ago. For example, bueno, I suppose that most of you were kids in the 90s, right? Most of us were kids in the 90s, 91, I mean 1991, 1992, right? So guys, in the 90s, what problems did Colombia used to have? What do you think? ¿Qué creen? What problems did Colombia used to have?
Teacher, the narcotraffic, conflict in
Economic problem.
um,
Economical problems, ¿cierto? Narcotraffic, economical problems, like violence, ¿cierto? Between guerrillas and the other groups, ¿cierto? Violence. So we used to have a lot of problems. Bueno, of course, some of them still persist in this moment, but most of them, they were reduced. They were big before, they were really big, and now they have been reduced, right? So good, that's great. Guys, in this case, we're going to see that we have some different expressions here that are going to help me to express situations of my childhood. Ready? When we talk about our childhood, as I said, it's something that happened before. So it's part of our past. Remember that when we talk about our past, we're going to have two possible structures. The first one, and the most common one, well, is the structure of the verb to be in past, which is was and were. ¿Cierto? For example, no sé, let's say narcotraffic. Narcotraffic was a big problem. Bueno, it's still a big problem, but let's suppose in the past, narcotraffic was a big problem in the 80s, right? So in that case, I'm using was because it's part of the past, especially in the 80s, right? The 80s are part of the past. So in that case, I'm using was, ¿cierto? Guys, pregunta, why I'm using was and not were? Porque estoy usando was y no were. What's the difference?
Teacher, can you repeat the question, please?
Singular,
Estoy hablando de mí.
¿De mí?
no, singular and
It's
plural.
a single problem.
Okay, good, excellent, muy bien. Entonces, la pregunta, Laura, why I'm using was y no were, porque estoy usando was aquí con narcotraffic y no were. Entonces, in that case, la respuesta es muy bien. De hecho, todos lo dijeron muy bien. Bueno, no estoy hablando de mí, sino estoy hablando de narcotraffic, ¿cierto? Y es un problema singular, es un solo problema. Entonces, recordemos que was is going to be with I, with he, with she, and with it. Mientras que were, on the other hand, it's going to be with you. A ver, con otro color, it's going to be with you, with we, and with they. ¿Cierto? Entonces, I was, he was, she was, it was. And the other possibility is you were, I were, you were, we were, and they were. ¿Cierto? Entonces, alguien dijo, ¿por qué estoy hablando de mí? Casi porque I también va con was. ¿Cierto? Entonces, esa possibility. En este caso, el sujeto va a determinar la forma del to be correspondiente en el pasado. ¿Cierto? Entonces, it was a difficult problem. Ready? But I could say, for example, also another situation, and it's that drug lords. What is the meaning of drug lords? Do you know what is the meaning of drug lords? ¿Qué será eso de drug lords?
¿Narcotraficante? No.
Sí, señora, muy bien, very good. O sea, las personas que manejan la droga, right? So the drug lords, y ahí me queda una pregunta. Very influential in the country. Influential in the country. What do you think? What is the option that we are going to put here?
A name.
Once again,
Where?
where, muy bien, very good, because of course, drug lords is plural, ¿cierto? Drug lords is they, right? For that reason, we know that they is with where, so we said, okay, the drug lords were very influential in the country, yes? Entonces, of course, claro, aquí solo estoy usando verb to be, es decir, eran o estaban, o yo era o yo estaba, ¿cierto? Pues no, you know, bueno, in the 80s, no, porque yo no nací en los 80s, but in the 90s, right? I was really shy. Yo era muy tímido, so I was really shy. Únicamente was, because I'm talking about myself, ¿cierto? Porque yo era, right? And also about location, because remember that verb to be, it's for description and also for location. So for example, I said, I don't know, let's say 20 years ago, bueno, I was 12 years old, ¿cierto? So 12 years ago, I was in school, ¿cierto? En ese caso no es como yo era, sino yo estaba, right? Entonces, was were, you know, súper sencillo, era y estaba en las diferentes conjugaciones que podamos tener, dependiendo de los sujetos, right? Claro, y como es verb to be, yo sé que la negación es simplemente colocarle not al verb to be. I wasn't, I weren't. For example, 20 years ago, espérame, 20 years ago, I was not o I wasn't a teacher, ¿cierto? Obviamente, 20 years ago, I was a student. I was not a teacher. Yes? So it's simple. Usar verb to be en el pasado es muy sencillo. Wasn't, weren't, sin problema. Ready? And of course, the question, it's with WH and changing the subject and the verb to be. En las anteriores, el subject estaba primero que el verb to be. En la pregunta, primero va el verb to be and then the question, and then the subject. Ready? Just for example, the question could be, let's say, which was your school? Guys, which was your school?
My school was Liceo San Basilio Magno.
Liceo Santa Cecilia? ¿Santa Cecilia?
No, San Basilio Magno.
Ah, San Basilio Magno. ¿En Bogotá?
Yes, located in Bogotá in the neighbor Bolivia.
Bolivia en la 80.
Yes, in el
Okay, very good. So my school was TTT, ¿cierto? Muy bien, very good, right? Or I can also make another question with was, or like for example, what were your best talents as a child? As a child, it means like cuando eras niño, right? So as a child, what were your best talents, guys? What do you think? What were your best talents?
My best talents were to dance and what else? Be a cheerleader.
Perfect. Entonces, my best talents were to dance and to be a cheerleader, ¿cierto? Excellent, that's great. Pregunta, guys, ¿por qué en la primera pregunta usé was y en la segunda were? ¿Qué cambió? What was the difference?
Porque está hablando de los talentos.
Exacto, Jennifer. Entonces, cuando es los talentos, ¿cierto? Es plural. It's talents. En cambio, aquí de qué estaba hablando before,
De solo uno.
de solo uno, de solo the school, right? So that's why it was our. Excellent. Very good. Muy bien. Listo, guys. Entonces, that was the part of. ¿Pregunta? ¿No?
Sí, tengo una pregunta.
Dime, of course.
Yo tenía entendido que as a no es como, o sea, digamos en la pregunta que cuáles fueron tus mejores talentos. Yo tenía entendido que as a es como no cuando un niño. O
Digamos que
sea,
está la
o estoy
expresión.
mal.
No, no, está bien. Lo que pasa es que esta expresión es como cuando le dice de niño, más o menos, right? O sea,
Ah, ok.
literalmente no significa cuando eras niño, sino que es como una expresión, es como de niño, más o menos es lo que significa, pero pues uno si la traduce sería de niño, ¿cierto? O sea, cuando eras niño, básicamente, como para que quede más claro, pero
Ya.
literalmente no significa eso, right?
Ok, thank you, teacher.
No problem.
Teacher,
Yes,
una pregunta.
of course.
Eh, es que yo también tenía entendido de que después de as, cuando inicia con una vocal, es con N.
Ah, no, después de A. Después de A es an si la siguiente palabra comienza con vocal. Sí, con vocal. Pero como aquí empieza con C, entonces empieza A normal. Si fuera, por ejemplo, ingeniero, engineer, ahí sí tengo que usar an engineer, porque la siguiente palabra empieza con vocal. Pero no es después de A, sino después de A. Right, Cami?
Vale, ok.
Ujú. Listo, muy bien, very good. Bueno, guys, entonces, in this case, that was the verb to be. Solo verb to be, o sea, solamente era o estaba, fin. But of course, that we're going to have other different verbs, other different actions, no? And in that case, we have to use, well, the simple past, right? So it's a possibility that I can use the verb in past. For example, when I say, I study. Uy, ¿cuál es el pasado de study? Se me olvidó. What study? What is the past of study?
Studied.
Muy bien, es un verbo regular. So in that case, I studied, right? In, say, in Universidad Nacional, for example, right? Entonces, I studied in Universidad Nacional, en pasado, ¿cierto? Aquí no hay ni was ni were porque no estoy hablando de que era o estaba, simplemente otra acción que yo hacía. ¿Cuál es la acción? Estudiar. Entonces, en ese caso, simplemente uso subject, the very past, and the complement. Y está bien, ¿cierto? I studied in UNAL, or for example, you know what? I lived in Soacha when I was a child. I lived in Soacha. Like 2 years, no more, but I lived in Soacha. Yes? Únicamente con el verbo en pasado. Claro, estos verbos sencillos porque son verbos regulares. But what about if I say, I to gym 10 years ago.
I went.
Muy bien, Laura. I went, ¿cierto? ¿Y went es el pasado de qué verbo?
Go.
Go.
Go, pero of
De ir.
course. Go,
De
pero
ir.
de ir, exactamente. O sea, en este caso, pues de go, ¿right? Pero pues go es un verbo irregular, por lo tanto, no es solo ponerle ed, sino que tengo que usar el pasado del verbo irregular, ¿right? Entonces, sencillo. Simplemente cuando es afirmativo, pues subject, verb in past, and the complement, muy bien. But when I have negative or question, I have to include the auxiliary. And the auxiliary in this case is the verb did, right? Did for all the pronouns, para todos los pronombres, right? I did, she did, we did, all the pronouns, right? In that case, when we have a negation, it's going to be did not, or contracted, it would be didn't. Ready? And when it's the question, it's only did. But what happened? If I have the auxiliary did, the verb is not going to be in past. It's going to be in the infinitive form, right? ¿Por qué? Because the past is marked in the auxiliary, not in the verb, only in the auxiliary. So the auxiliary is going to show me, hey, it's a past sentence, look, but it's not going to be marked in the verb, but only in the auxiliary. Of course, only when it's negative and only when it's a question. When it's affirmative, no, because I don't have an auxiliary. Yes? En el afirmativo no tengo auxiliar, por lo tanto, ahí sí debo cambiar el verbo. Ready? Pero como en la negación y en la pregunta sí tengo auxiliar, es allí donde voy a marcar ese pasado, en el auxiliar. ¿Listo? Ready? Y el verbo va a ir en infinitivo. Alguien que me recuerde, please, ¿cuál es la forma infinitiva del verbo? What's the infinitive form?
In Spanish, are, ir.
Bueno, excelente.
Impression.
Por ahí alguien dijo, en Spanish es cuando es ar, er, ir, ¿cierto? O sea, la forma base del verbo. En inglés es simplemente el verbo normal, sin ningún cambio, sin ed, sin s, sin ing, sin absolutamente nada. O sea, por ejemplo, no, yo no iba al gimnasio. Ok, I didn't go. ¿Cierto? La forma infinitiva de go, pues es esa justamente, go, ¿cierto? Entonces, in that case, not necessary to change to the past. Ahí no hay necesidad de cambiarlo al pasado. ¿Listo? Lo mismo en la pregunta. For example, question. Ya les hice una pregunta que era, ¿cuál era tu colegio? Va a ser algo parecido, pero usando otro verbo, que no sea el verb to be. So, in that case, for example, I could say, in what school, in what school In what school did you study? ¿Sí? ¿Está bien la pregunta? In what school did you study?
No.
No. Why not? What is the mistake?
Ed of study.
Exactly, good. I don't have the word in past because it's in a question. I use the auxiliary. The auxiliary is right here. So the verb is going to be in infinitive. So it's not necessary to use studied, but only the why. In what school did you study? That's it, right? Luisa, my dear, in what school did you study?
Pureza de María. I
Pureza.
study Pureza de María.
Exactly. So, en la respuesta, ahí sí vas a tener que usar I studied in Pureza de María School, ¿cierto? Muy bien. ¿Ok? Guys, hasta ahí. ¿Alguna pregunta con el simple past, con el auxiliar? Si lo pongo, si no lo pongo, ¿qué pasa si lo pongo? With the verb, or is it clear?
It's clear, teacher.
Ujú. Listo, muy bien. Very good, guys. Entonces, in that case, we have been using the simple past of the verb to be and of the other verbs to talk about my past, right? que I studied in Pureza de María School, o my school was Liceo Bartolomeo, no me acuerdo qué, right? So in that case, my school was, it's another possibility, or I studied in is another possibility, but all of that is for talking about my past, ¿cierto? So in that case, I can say, no, you know what? My best friend, or like, I played with, let's say, no sé, with Andrés, ¿cierto? I played with Andrés, video games or whatever, right? Or if I want to use the verb to be, okay, my best friend was Andrés, but it's the same idea. And then I am going to find another expression that is going to help me to do basically the same. Is the expression used to, right? De hecho, la primera le pregunta que leímos sobre what was the problems of Colombia, it was with the expression used to, right? Anybody remember what is the meaning of used to? ¿Qué significa used to? Do you remember?
Solía.
Solía,
Yes.
muy bien, exactamente, solía, ¿cierto? Soler de un hábito en el pasado. Entonces, in that case, fíjense que used to sigue las mismas reglas del pasado simple. Es decir, en afirmativo, el verbo used va en pasado. Pero si es negativo, no, va normal y uso el auxiliar didn't. Y en pregunta, pues uso el auxiliar did y el verbo también va en infinitivo. ¿Ready? Pero en este caso va complementado con otro verbo, ¿cierto? Porque solía requiere otro verbo para tener sentido completo. Es decir, solía que. Then it's going to include another verb in infinitive. As the verb is after to, como el verbo está después de to, as the verb is after to, it's always going to be in infinitive. A verb that is after to is always in infinitive. So in that case, for example, instead of saying like, okay, I played with Andrés, ¿cierto? Because that sentence is correct, o sea, esa oración está correcta, pero ¿cuál es el problema? Cuando uso simple past solito, pues es una acción que yo hice, fin, that's it. Pero si yo quiero demostrar que era una acción que solía ser, que era habitual, que era común en el pasado, then I have to use the used to, right? O sea, decir, ok, no, es que no fue que jugué, es que solía jugar. I used to I used to play video games with Andrés, no sé qué, but I used to play, ¿cierto? Es es the same tense, es el mismo tiempo, pero no es la misma intención. Ready? Entonces, I played with Andrés is different because I can say, for example, I played with Andrés yesterday. Yes, and that's it. Es algo que hice, that's it. But when I say I used to play with Andrés after school, okay. Always after school, I used to play video games with Andrés, right? That's very, very different. If it's negative, well, I just have to use didn't and then the verb normal. Or if it's a question, pues did and the verb in past and the verb in infinitive too. Ready? For example, do you know The Simpsons? Did you know The Simpsons?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
But probably you watched or you liked other different cartoons. So I'm going to have a question here. What cartoons mhm, you to how can you complete that sentence? That question. What cartoons
Cartoons did you watch to? No. What cartoons
Did
did
you?
You used to watch.
Exactly, muy bien, guys. What cartoons do you used to watch? Right? So, because the cartoons is not something that, pues, o sea, los vi, sí, pero yo solía verlos, right? It was a good, long habit in the past, so that's why I use used to. Guys, what cartoons do you used to watch?
I used to watch Los Padrinos Mágicos.
Okay, okay, very good, Lau. What else? What else?
I used to watch the Looney Tunes.
The Looney Tunes, yes, the Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, okay. ¿Qué más? What other?
I used to watch Dragon Ball Z.
Obvio, of course, no, we are kids from the 90s. We used to watch, everybody in the 90s used to watch Dragon Ball Z. Any other?
I used to watch Naruto.
Naruto, for example, ¿cierto? Muy bien, Camilo. And Jennifer?
I used to watch Gravity Falls.
Vea, Gravity Falls, ok, algo más reciente, muy bien, very good. ¿Listo? Entonces, guys, este used to me va a permitir, pues, eso, hablar sobre, digamos, situaciones habituales en el pasado. Claro, pero si lo uso en negativo, es algo que yo no solía hacer, es decir, algo que no era habitual en el pasado. Ejemplo, example, like before, I didn't use to work. Before, no. Now, of course, I used to work, but before, I didn't used to work. Yes, it was not my habit. I used to play video games. I used to go out to play soccer. I used to, no say, drink with my friends, but I didn't used to work, right? So in that case, we can also take advantage of the expression. Podemos aprovecharla, this expression, in order to give a different intention to my messages. Ready? So it's all in past, todo está en el pasado, pero with different intentions. It was a habit in the past, or it was something that happened just once. So that's the difference. ¿Listo? Hasta ahí, guys. Questions, ¿cómo van con used to? ¿Bien? Difficulties, problems?
No,
No,
issues.
Listo. Muy bien. Very good. In complement to all of that, when we are talking about our childhood, we can talk about the habits that we had, how we were. Yes, like for example, my personality was like DTT. The actions that we did before, like, oh no, when I was a child, I traveled to Spain or something like that. But also we can talk about what things change in the space, right? Because, for example, I remember that long time ago, in the Bolivar Square. Todos conocen la Plaza de Bolívar, yes? Everybody knows the
Yes.
Bolivar Square,
Mm,
yes? This
of
long,
course.
Yeah.
long time ago, in the center of the Bolivar Square, there was a fountain. Pero long time ago, a lot of years ago, there was a fountain. ¿Cierto? Entonces, in that case, I use there was because nowadays it doesn't exist. It's something that changed, but change in the space, right? So in this case, we're changing the verb haber, yes, like había, right? So it's a change because before there was something, but now it is not there. So it's a change in the space. I'm going to use another expression, which is there was or there were, right? To describe the things that existed before in the space, but now they are not there. Yes? Of course, we use there was if it's singular noun, or there were if it's a plural noun, right? Of course, also if it's countable or non-countable. Yes? So if it's affirmative, there was or there were. If it's negative, there wasn't or there weren't. Yes? And if it's a question, was there or were there? Depending on the intention. Ready? After that, we're going to have the quantity. Yes? If it's there was, it's singular. I can use, for example, a or an or one or empty. Empty, especially when it's for non-countable. For non-countable nouns, like for example, water or time, ¿cierto? Sustantivos no contables. And a, an, o one when it's only one and it's countable. For example, there was a fountain. Because it's countable, es una fuente, es algo contable. Entonces, I can use this. Ready? Vacío cuando es no contable. Ready? Si es singular, si es afirmativo, sorry. If it's plural and it's affirmative, I can use the number, or I can use a quantifier. Quantifier, like for example,
A lot of.
excellent, sí, muy bien. Many, a lot of, some, or few.
Okay.
¿Cierto? Quantifiers of a big quantity, many or a lot. In the middle, some or a little quantity, few. ¿Listo? Here I can also use quantifiers as, for example, much or little. Much for a big quantity of non-countable and little for a small quantity of non-countable. So, for example, there was a little space. Había un poquito de espacio, right? Or there was much space. ¿Cierto? Había mucho espacio because it's not countable. Ahora, if I am going to use countable things, like for example, restaurants, okay, there were many restaurants, or there were a lot of restaurants, yes? Or if it's a small quantity, there were few restaurants, right? Depending on the object, if the object is countable or non-countable, ready? Dependiendo si el objeto es contable o no contable. ¿Listo? Ready? Guys, after that, we're going to use the complement. The complement can be different things. For example, it can be complement of time. It's a possibility when I say 20 years ago or the last century. ¿Century? ¿Qué era century? Se me olvida. The last century, what is that?
¿Siglo?
Siglo, muy bien, very good. The last century, there were different cars, for example, or there were more companies, or I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Or it can be a complement of place, ¿cierto? For example, there were more parks in Bogota. Yeah. So I can complement it with the time or with the place, ready? Depending what I want, or with both. I can say, for example, there were more parks in the 90s in Bogota. Complement of time and also complement of place, right? This is the there where there was is going to help me, me va a ayudar, for expressing how the space changed. The things that existed before that now they do not exist. Ready? Guys, if it's negative, eso era cuando era afirmativo. If it's negative, we're going to use any in both cases. In that case, for example, there wasn't any space, there wasn't any progress, there wasn't any money, right? And the same when it's plural, there were not any parks, there were not any good hospitals, there were not any good schools, for example, right? And when I say was there or were there, it's a yes or no question. But of course, I can also use the question, how many? How many? Or how much? Depending on what? Depending on the object. If the object is countable, how many? If the object is non-countable, how much? No? Then, for example, I can say, let's talk about Colombia before, yes? How much pollution? How much pollution was there? What do you think? How much pollution was there?
A little.
A little, ¿cierto? Antes no había tanta, antes era un poco más poquita, right? So, but I am going to express completely. There was
Mm,
a
a
little pollution.
pollution. Okay.
Muy bien, very good, ¿cierto? Different if I say, for example, bueno, listo, pollution, a little. But what about if I say, how many, let's say, how many dance clubs? How many dance clubs were there? Vamos a borrar esa palabra plural. So, how many dance clubs were there?
There were many dance clubs.
Exactly, no? So before it was very popular in the 90s, it was very popular. So there were many dance clubs, right? Entonces, taking into account that pollution is not countable. So I use how much y was. En cambio, dance clubs, it's countable, right? So I use were and I use many, ¿cierto? Entonces, taking into account that. Pero todo en general, todo lo que hemos visto hoy, was, were, did, didn't, right? Todo eso apunta a hablar sobre nuestro pasado, ¿cierto? In general, it's going to be for talking about different experiences of my childhood, different experiences of my past. ¿Listo? Guys, hasta ahí. Questions about the there was, there were. It's clear. Problems? What do you think? No? Excellent. Very good. Bueno, guys, this is where we're going to go back here to the infographic of the week, right? And in this infographic, we're going to find some different questions, right? I'm going to be asking you the questions. I want you to now answer, but complete. Ready? So the question before was the same. What problems did Colombia used to have? And you told me narcotraffic, violence, economical problems. Ready? Now try to answer this question, the same question, but more specifically. Narcotraffic, but what happened with the narcotraffic? Economical problems, but be more specific. Ready? Try to tell me, profe, es que había problemas con la inflación, bla, 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 right? O no, profe, es que mire, habían como 20 grupos armados, ta, 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 ta. O no, profe, mire, lo que pasa es que había una guerra entre estos y los otros, right? Just try to use it. Ready? Puedes usar used to, puedes usar there was, there were, puedes usar did, puedes usar verb to be, whatever you want to use. Ready? Question number one. What problems did Colombia used to have? One more time.
When I was a child, mm, some people used to force children to work, and you see child at the traffic lights, for example.
Very common, very common.
Very-
And- Okay, Lau, entonces in that case, when she was a child, some people used to put children to work, ¿cierto? And you, otra vez, used to see, ¿cierto? Solías ver. So you used to see children in the traffic lights, ¿cierto? Muy bien, Laura. Excellent. What other problem did you identify from your past?
Come again?
No, in the past. What other problem different? Not only Laura, everybody, no? What other problems did Colombia used to have before? Any other problems or no? No teníamos más problemas, ¿no? No.
Yes, or many.
Okay, so
I remember that when I was a long time ago, some people used to be or are not capable to write and read.
yeah, well, there was, I forgot, how do you say that? Analphabetism or
Yes,
this
analphabetism.
polarization? Yes.
Yes, it's remarkable to the educational problems and violence. I was when I was young. I I grew up in Chiquinquirá.
Hmm.
In this city, you can find some problems with the Esmeralderos.
Of
You know
course.
that people.
Yes, I remember something like
Yes.
that. Like in Chiquinquirá, there was another city, no? Apart from Chiquinquirá, other city?
Muso.
Yes, I think so. Something like that in
Yes.
Boyacá, right?
On the Emerald War.
Exactly.
Yes, something like that. I can remember anything in this
Great.
moment. Okay.
Excelente, Andrés. Bueno, in that case, you could, ¿cierto? Porque you can, no, sino you could find problems with the Emerald people, no? But because it was part of the past, o sea, podías, right? So you could find some problems. Yes, period. So, yeah. Muy bien, Andrés. Any
Oh,
other?
thanks.
No, great, great.
Teacher, the violence used to grow in the country because many illegal groups want to control the neighborhood.
Excellent, Dianita. Dianita, pronunciation, illegal, illegal.
Illegal.
Yes, very good.
Illegal.
Muy
Okay,
bien.
thank you.
Entonces, the violence used to grow in the country because some illegal groups wanted, o sea, querían, bueno, en este momento todavía quieren, pero estamos hablando del pasado. So we said wanted to control the neighborhoods. En este caso, como es un verbo regular, wanted, ¿cierto? Guys, paréntesis. ¿Cómo hago para saber si en un verbo regular esa ed se pronuncia o no? En algunos las pronuncio, en algunos no, pero ¿cuál es la regla? ¿Algunos recuerdan?
No, teacher.
No.
or the letter, the consonant.
Exactly. Well, if the verb finishes in any letter, it doesn't sound the E. But except if the verb finishes in T or D, then it's going to sound the verb. For example, we have work, finishes in K. ED, the E is not going to sound. Or for example, we have play, finishes in Y. The E is not going to sound, right? Played, worked, ¿cierto? Entonces it's just work with T, and this one it's played with D, ¿cierto? That's it, right? But if the verb finishes in T, like for example, present finishes in T, then the E is going to sound presented, right? Or if the verb finishes in D, like for example, need finishes in D, then the verb it's going to the E is going to sound needed, right? So in that case, for example, it's going to be presented. Presented. Ahí sí suena, right? Or here it's going to be sorry, my gosh. Needed. Ok, ahí sí va a sonar esa I final. Ready? Entonces, depende la letra en la que termine. In that case, for example, finishes in T. So it was because some illegal groups wanted to control the neighborhoods. ¿Listo? Ready? Bueno, muy bien, guys. Question number 2. Something like fast or quickly to answer it. What games did you used to play when you were kids? Video games or real life games? What games did you used to play?
I used to play hide and seek.
Typical. Very good, Lou. Yes, of course. Hide and seek, it means escondidas, no? Right? So hide and seek. Excelente. What about Nicholas? What games do you used to play, my friend?
Well, I remember when I was a child, I used to play with cards, with like cartoon games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon.
Ah, with cards. I understood with cards, like toy cards. Okay, yeah. Typical games also like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Digimon, and so many things, no? Mhm. Okay, Nicholas. Anybody else? What about Dianita? What games do you used to play?
I used to play, how do you say ponchado?
No, punchados, well, normalmente lo llaman como tag, aunque eso es más como cogidas, ready? But, mentiras, dodgeball. Dodgeball. Ese es el ponchados.
Okay.
Dodgeball, yes. Very good, Dianita. And Jennifer, creo que ibas a participar. I think you were.
Yes, teacher.
Mhm.
When I was a child,
Yes?
I used to play in the computer or in the TV with the Xbox,
I-
Super Mario Bros. Or World of Warcraft or video
Mhm.
games like that.
Very good. So you were all more like a technological child, ¿no?
Yes, yes, yes. Aún hoy en día. ¿Cómo
I
podría
am.
decir eso?
Still, I am still.
I am still.
Still, it
Thank
means,
you, teacher.
no, con gusto. Good, good. Listo, muy bien, very good. And guys, a question which is a little bit more general. It's like, what was the best part of your childhood? What was the best part of your childhood? For example, in my case, I can say that loved I love to train soccer with my brother. Yes, I loved to train soccer with my brother, because of course there was a team in my neighborhood, and my brother and me, we were the captains of the team, right? So in that case, like the question is so general, I can use many things. I can use simple past, I can use there was and there were. I can use verb to be in simple past, right? So good. Guys, in general terms, what was the best part of your childhood? What was the best part?
The best part of my childhood, it was that I used to play video games for sure. So no more. Maybe the education, the place.
The
How can
games?
I say the place? The games and what else? Maybe enjoy time at the park and the school, for example. That's
Of course. So in that case, all the things that you mentioned, Lau, they can be expressed with the past, no? So for example, enjoy time in the park, it would be better like I used to enjoy time in the park, no? Or in simple past, I enjoyed a lot of time in the park with my friends. Or what you mentioned, education, no? So you said, for example, teacher, I don't know, I studied or I used to study in a great school. Or for example, I used to love my school friends, no? So it's the topic, but it's better to mention like, using used to simple past, whatever. It's not necessary to use the best part of my childhood was, it's a possibility, but it's not the only way. We can do it in other different ways. Okay? Listo, guys. ¿Qué más? Anybody else? What was the best part of your childhood?
Yes, I enjoyed to play guitar with my friends,
Mhm.
play songs of Metallica, and play basketball, and train with the school team.
The
And
basketball team?
yeah, in the basketball team,
Mhm.
and to travel with my mom. No, I can't remember something more.
Okay, good. Very good.
Okay,
In that case, when it's something negative, Andre, you could say, I can't remember anything, anything else.
anything?
Anything else.
Anything else? Okay,
Listo, como nada más, anything else.
okay.
Muy bien, Andrés, excellent. Anybody else? Anybody else who wants to participate?
Teacher, in my case, my best part of my childhood was when my family and me went to the playas and cooked sancocho. The playas is a place in my neighborhood that have a very cold river.
Oh, okay, that's great. And every time you used to cook sancocho, always sancocho.
Always sancocho.
Okay, that's great. It's where is that, Dianita? Medellin or Envigado or where?
Medellin, in
Mhm.
San Antonio de Prado.
Ah, okay, very good. Great, great, great. Okay, Diana, thank you so much. Creo que Camilo ibas a responder. You were going to answer too.
Yes, teacher.
Mhm.
In my case, the best part of my childhood, hmm, play the soccer in special that because I I liked and video games with my friends. I think that is very important. The responsibilities. I don't have any responsibilities,
¿En este
so
momento o en ese momento?
en ese momento,
En ese momento,
in that
entonces, I
moment,
didn't have, right?
I didn't have.
I
Yeah,
didn't have any
I didn't
responsibility.
have.
Muy bien,
Yes,
great.
teacher.
Listo. Entonces, Cami, for example, you said play soccer and play video games. That is good, but we have to try to put it into the past. For example, no sé, teacher, you know what? I used to play video games with my friends. I used to play FIFA. I used to play, no sé, Mortal Kombat. I used to play ta ta ta, ¿cierto? O as antes said, for example, I enjoy it. I enjoy it too. I enjoyed playing ¿cierto? O, well, I can say, for example, no sé, teacher, in my neighborhood, there was a park. There was a park and I used to Ready? Entonces, the idea is, yes, mentioning the action, mencionar las acciones, pero al mismo tiempo, importante que lo usen pues en el pasado, ¿right? O sea, es decir, que usen la estructura correcta para poderlo expresar. ¿Listo? Bueno, guys, ¿alguna pregunta? Any question about the simple past o acerca de los temas? Ya se nos fue la horita, fue muy rápido, pero ¿alguna duda, pregunta, question, anything? Or is it good?
Everything was clear, teacher.
Bueno, guys, muy bien. Muchísimas
It's
gracias
clear,
por la
teacher.
participación. Ok, Jen, very good. Muchísimas gracias por la participación. La verdad es que sí, se pasó muy rápido la hora, fue muy rápido. Pero bueno, guys, entonces, si les quedan dudas sobre los temitas o algo, me pueden escribir por WhatsApp, no hay problema. Ustedes saben que me consiguen ahí como de primera mano, ¿listo? Y creo que la mayoría de ustedes programó de una vez para el jueves también conmigo, a esta hora, más o menos. No, mentiras, a las
Yes.
8.
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
A las
teacher.
Thank you,
Guys,
yes.
entonces, see you on Thursday. Nos vemos el jueves at 8 p.m. Nothing. Continue advancing over the week activities. And if you have any question or difficulty, let me know. Okay? See you in the next class, Thursday at 8 p.m. Okay? Thank you for everything, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, teacher,
Thank you,
thanks.
teacher. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.